made a major mistake. Cass, your thoughts on how this looks on that organization?
Out of all the hires, this is the one that we felt was going to make us the best. Quite clearly, it was not.
It's just a weird kind of thing to do, to ask someone to look at their phone and the pictures on their phone. If you think by seeing a photo you're going to learn a lot about a person, then follow them on social media. I'm sure if Mike Babcock requested to follow a few members of his Columbus Blue Jackets, what he did was wrong. He hasn't changed a bit.
Two Guys and a Goalie with Gager, Kassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey! Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch. Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast, located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Thursday continues to roll on here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Time now for Two Guys and a Goalie. Dusty, Gage, and Cass back with you once again. Presented to you in part by our great partners over at CoolBet. You want to bet on the National Hockey League? You bet it at CoolBet. I wouldn't advise betting on preseason games like I did last night. There's just some levels you don't need to stoop to, Gager.
Yeah. I'm usually there, too, so you were down at my level.
It's pretty bad. Cass is in Calgary, where he went down there for the Backlund Getting to See press conference and decided he's not coming back. Cass, what's up, buddy? Think you're muted, Cass.
You'll have to let me know how the sound is because I'm in a semi-public place. Hiding in a corner. Someone started doing some vacuuming, but I think we're okay
good
for now.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. Okay, we're good.
To be honest with you,
but yeah, no, down here for the Backlund press conference because I'm such a Calgary fan and I love them so much, and just having a good time and happy to be here.
But he set the scene for us at that. Like, where are you right now? What's going on here? And I'd like to see you brought the whole mic setup. Good job, buddy.
I did bring the whole mic setup. Well, originally I thought from a time standpoint, I was like, I'll have time to get to my brother's house because he lives in Calgary, but he's on the far side of the city. And then I had a meeting this afternoon and the time got changed. I'm like, I don't have time to go to the house and then drive after the show to get to the meeting now. I got to stay close to where the meeting is. So I'm like, I got to find somewhere to do this thing. And so, yeah, I'm just in a fast food restaurant that has Wi-Fi and I'm hiding in the corner. And
that's hardcore.
This is happening.
That's a professional.
I love it. Is there anybody else in this restaurant right now also doing live shows?
I think one or two.
Yeah.
I think one or two. They most likely are. I've got some strange looks, and I'm sure we're going to continue to get more.
Well, you know what? The Wi-Fi connects pretty well. I mean, it's good. I won't be surprised if somebody rolls in and goes, "Hey, Cass, two guys and a goalie."
Yeah, that would be great.
We all know we got lots of fans in Calgary.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Huge following down in Calgary. You know, considering the fact that you are in Calgary, let's start there. What did you think of the decision, buddy, to give the C, get a couple more years on a pretty reasonable number, too, I thought, for Backlund. It's a nice little deal there.
Nice little deal, and I think it's he's a veteran guy who for me for a while has been one of the more underrated players in the league. Plays a great two-way game, is a heart and soul type of player, plays hard both ends of the ice, does a lot of things really well. And so for the Flames, you're getting a guy who's a core component, who solidifies your leadership group that now wants to be here and is going to be here and is at a dollar number that is manageable for the team. So I like the move for the Flames. I think it's a good one. I think he's a good fit for a captain with that group. And launching into a non-Sutter era here, I think it's a solid move. And I think you wanted to pick a captain too, coming out of that, where it's like, okay, let's get some stability here as an organization, and from a leadership standpoint for the young guys that maybe now are going to start to get an opportunity. I think you made the right decision as a team.
Gager, when you look at this from Calgary perspective, this is a pretty important. Not that every captaincy isn't important, but considering Calgary's got a pretty good team still, they're coming off a disappointing year. They've still kept a lot of that group together. This is a really important moment, I think, for the franchise to put a C on somebody's chest, and that must say a lot about Backlund.
Yeah, he's a great player, great playoff performer. For what he does, I look at it too, Dusty. I as soon as I saw the number, I thought it was a manageable number. If the Flames do find themselves at the trade deadline not looking like maybe it's not going to be their year, he becomes available.
You can fit that in somewhere. Yeah,
someone will be able to fit him in. I think it's a reasonable enough number that a team that's looking to get over that hump, he's the kind of guy that a lot of teams will be looking at around that trade deadline. So it would be a big loss to lose a captain of his caliber, but I think it's two birds, one stone for the Flames.
We'll get into that, Calgary Flames, and what we expect from them. We might take a quick rip around the Canadian clubs here today, depending on when we get through our top 50 and stuff. Edmonton Oilers preseason action. Gager, any takeaways from that game last night, buddy?
Two big takeaways. Since I am the goalie of the podcast, I'll start with Mr. Skinner. Great game by Skinner. Very difficult with the first two periods, not seeing a lot of action. Seeing action, but not facing a lot of rubber. But then having the focus to stay with it and make some huge saves in the third and preserve that tie. So really good game from Skinner. The second one was I found myself with the other Connor. I didn't know if it was Zach Hyman, and
yeah, it's funny. You're right. That sometimes you look at it.
And I was like, oh, Zach, because it was a little bit different. I go, oh my gosh, because I haven't watched Connor Brown play a lot, but I remember him mostly with the Leafs and his tenacious forecheck and finishing bodies and just being a disruption. And there's a lot of speed there too. And so what a what an ad for the Oilers to have two guys with the caliber of a Zach Hyman and Connor, or just that style of hockey. We talk about the Oilers maybe needing a little bit more toughness. That's a lot of toughness that's not after the whistles, but in between the whistles. Those guys, that's a great ad for the Oilers. Hopefully everything works well with the injuries and he gets up to speed a little bit more. Obviously when regular season starts around, it's a different ball game, but I really liked seeing, not knowing who it was between Hyman and Connor Brown.
Cass, when you look at Connor Brown, I mean, when we talk about getting him ramped up back up, and they said he's not going to play in any back-to-back preseason games. Woodcroft said this at that golf tournament last week, so you're not going to see a ton of him in the preseason. But how long do you think it takes for a guy to kind of get back up to speed? And if you watched the game last night, any other thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think your first blush is that it's going to be a great fit. I think if he can stay healthy, it's going to be a great fit. And I mean, I'm not worried about seeing him in too many games. I think from a playing standpoint, you're probably looking with new line mates. Well, actually, let me walk that back. It's not brand new. It's not like he's never played with Connor McDavid before. It's not like that top group is all, maybe they haven't ever played all together, but they're not completely unfamiliar with one another. So I say 5 games. 5 games. You should
that's
know
not
what
that
you
long
have
then.
there.
Yeah, that's okay.
No, I don't think so. It's not the same. I think D pairings, like defensive pairings, I think those ones can take a little bit longer. But as far as an offensive thing goes, it's almost like you have it or you don't. And so you find that group pretty quick as a line. And I think we can look back and see that in years past with this Oilers group and with other teams too, is like for a line to come together, it usually comes together pretty quick where you can see that chemistry right away. And I feel like on the defensive side of the puck, it's more patterns and getting used to those patterns. So I say 5 games. I don't think you need to see a ton of it. 5 games for me is enough to know if you got something. And even based on it last night, you see spurts and flashes, and I think there is going to be something there as long as Brown stays healthy.
Dan on the YouTube chat here says, Cass and the mute button. Name a more iconic duo. Which is good for today, actually.
I fight that mute button all the time.
No, but you're doing it good today. Like, it's good when you mute and we don't pick up the background noise when you're not talking. So I think that's great. We got a glimpse here at Nurse and Bouchard last night. Let's dive into that a little bit, guys. Gage, any thoughts on it last night? I thought there was a couple of spots where Bouchard was being pressured with the puck a little bit. I think he was looking for a Nurse outlet, and Nurse is kind of creeping up a little bit more. So, I mean, that comes with time, but he was probably familiar with, like, Ekholm kind of being like, oh, there he is. I'll take that puck from you. So, I don't know. Did you notice that too?
Yeah,
okay.
A little struggle, I would say. But that's two guys that don't normally play with each other, like Cass had mentioned.
So while, right?
It's going to take a while for that to develop. But, again, I don't think it was Bouchard's best outing by far, but then you see the skill level that's available in the overtime. Like,
Great feat. Like,
just the presence of mind to take the puck back, kind of draw a guy to you, and then send a laser between 2 opposing players, hit Connor on the tape. That's what the Oilers can do.
Cass, do you think Bouchard and Nurse as a pair is the best thing for the Oilers? Like, what do you think's driving them wanting to put those 2 guys together if they do start the season that way?
Well, you're trying to find a balance here. The tricky part for Bouchard is going to be some of Nurse's unpredictability, which I think even in that play you mentioned, you see some of that where learning to read what he's going to do. And the challenge with Nurse is sometimes he does stuff you're not expecting. It's really random. And so you're kind of like, you really having to read and anticipate. And we've seen Cody Ceci be able to do it well. And I think for Bouchard, the hope is that he's able to do that and maybe stabilize the pairing and give you that top role offensively. I still question if this is a pairing that should exist. To me, just with how Ekholm, when he's in the lineup and how he's stabilized Bouchard's game, I kind of wonder if that to me is a little bit of a better pairing. But you're going to give this a little bit of a look here. We're going to see a look at it. We're going to see if it works. Again, I just wonder, even after watching that last one, if Bouchard is going to be able to read and react off of Darnell Nurse enough that they're going to have consistent success, especially coming out of the defensive zone.
Well, and that's what I kind of wonder. And Original Poozars in the YouTube chat. Hey, if you're watching, you can dive into the YouTube chat, or if you're just listening right now, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Your thoughts on Bouchard and Darnell Nurse being a thing? We know Ekholm and Bouchard worked very well, so that's why I'm trying to think about the thought process here of. And OP in the YouTube chat made an interesting point, and like Nurse is always on the ice with McDavid. So if Bouchard's out there with Nurse, then Bouchard will always be on the ice quite a bit with Connor McDavid as well, which is a good thing probably for everybody involved. But are they trying this because they don't think CC fits up there anymore, and then they're gonna, or are they trying this because they want Broberg and Desharnais to have a chance to be mentored by Ekholm for a little bit, and I think Bouchard's already had enough of that. That's why I'm trying to figure out what the driving, because I might be wrong on this, but I don't think the reason is, hey, let's just create a monster pair with Nurse and Bouchard, right? So I'm trying to figure out the reasoning behind it.
Well, like we're talking about Bouchard trying to read off Nurse. Does this calm Nurse down a little bit? Because he had I would say CC was more of the calming presence with that duo. So does Nurse kind of become, that's a bad word, but maybe a little bit more defensive responsible because he's playing with a younger guy and taking more of a mentorship role?
So you think they're trying to put this on Nurse a bit to kind of be more of a,
maybe because he's always had someone to look after him for if he's jumping in the play and sees you. So maybe it's I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there, but maybe it's to calm him down a little bit, playing with a younger guy and being reliable for that guy, right? Being an outlet for him. So maybe they're trying to see how that works, because they're both good first pass, and Darnell can carry the mail. So it's a great tandem if it works out. But I wonder if that's kind of their thinking as well with this pair.
Question on the YouTube chat from Kevin. It says, "What is the better foursome, guys? Nurse and Ceci and Ekholm and Bouchard, or Nurse and Bouch and Ekholm and Broberg?" Cass, how would you answer that question?
Depends on the night.
Yeah.
Depends on the night. I mean, you get a little bit more veteran from Cody Ceci, and we know that when he's playing well, he does stabilize a pairing. I mean, to me, an ideal, still the ideal is if Nurse is with Ceci and Ekholm with Bouchard. Like, in my opinion, when all players are playing at their best, I think that group complements itself the best. And I wonder if you're now sliding, Broberg up into that spot with Ekholm. Well, yes, it's going to help out Broberg a lot, but is he even with that help? Is he at a level where you want him to play top 4 minutes? I don't know. So, I mean, with that being said, I'll counter that and say, okay, well, what if you go with Ekholm and Ceci, and what's that going to do for you? Because that's a pretty stable pairing.
That's last 2 minute pairing.
You like get Kulak and CC.
Kulak, yeah.
I think you could, all of a sudden you've got a really good veteran third pairing, which they haven't really had in quite some time because they're always trying to rotate guys through there. Do you think Desharnais and or Broberg are ready to, and it'll be like, do you just give them all the Ekholm minutes, or are you like spotting CC in there a little bit, and then in some easier zone starts, you getting like, how do you, it'd be fascinating to see how the coaches handle that, to be honest with you, if they go that way.
I'd like to see Vinny and Broberg together, just to see how that looks as well. Just some young guys. You got the remaining 20 games of preseason here to see what they can do. They have to experiment with all this. The bottom line is Vinny and Broberg, I think, both have to make a big step this year and raise their game to a level that their coach can rely upon them to take defensive zone draws in the second period and out against the best team and have no problem with that. That's where those guys got to get to be successful.
One of the things we talked about with this team is we know they're going to score goals. It's just a matter of if they can defend well enough to, win the entire thing. And I think this came up in the chat, came up on the text line as well, 780-218-9999. But by putting Nurse and Bouchard together, are you really setting the tone that they're going to win games defensively that way? Or are you kind of just like, because that's not, I don't think, Cass, would you gauge like Nurse and Bouchard, not your typical shutdown pair late in hockey games. So like for me, you're almost trying to make that top unit more dangerous, which I'm not even sure is necessary.
Yeah. I mean, the big problem last year was giving up goals.
Yeah.
Giving up goals 5-on-5. I mean, that the defensive zone was where when they struggled as a team, they weren't playing defense well. So, do Bouchard and Nurse together elevate your defensive play in a way that's going to win you games? Or and you're right, Dusty, are you just saying, screw the defense, we're just going to go score more goals than you, which they can kind of do, I guess, with that group. But are you doing it every game? Are you doing it in the third period? Like how I don't know. That's just where that pairing. Not that I'm questioning why they're trying it. I think it's good to try it, but I just don't know. I don't know if that's the group that you want, because I just don't know that it gives you the defensive side of the game you need.
Yeah. No, the power or the penalty kill wasn't great at the beginning. It wasn't great until actually Desharnais came around and they started killing some.
And you eventually had Ekholm to it too.
Yeah, and you had Ekholm.
Right.
So that's gonna be completely different from the start of the year. Let's hope it improves at that point. And they're not allowing all those power play goals. So that's going to change the way they play, I think, a little bit, because they won't be chasing and trying to outscore their problems, hopefully, in that area of the game anymore.
780-218-9999. This text in from the Propane Pimp, which is a new handle, I think, on Edmonton Sports Talk. I don't remember the Propane Pimp over on 1260. Guys, I don't see this lasting. Bouchard will play with 97, and Drive will want a D-man with some offense. If Bouch and Nurse sticks, and that pretty much leaves slim pickings on the offensive side for the Draisaitl line. And this text is in and says, guys, is Cass singing out in a lounge tonight? That's what it looks like. Is there a piano there with you, Cass? Are you getting ready for a one-man show this evening?
There's not just a piano. There's also a foot drum and a tambourine. And I will be playing all of them. Yes. For the low price of $5,000 a ticket, you can see me play.
Let's stick with the defense here just for a second, because this came up on the Nielson show this morning. Gage, I'll throw it to you first. We'll dive into this conversation, continue with the others for a bit. Then we'll take a quick pause, come back, continue with our top 50, and maybe get into some of these Canadian teams. I kind of want to power rank the Canadian teams, because outside of Edmonton and Toronto, I have no idea what else is going on here with these other Canadian teams. So I think that'll be a fun discussion. But somebody asked today, I don't know, I said there's been some buzz about Desharnais maybe, eventually becoming a top 4 D-man. And I just see him perfectly suited for where he kind of is as a third pair. Now, if they're going to try to elevate him and Broberg at times here with Ekholm, we'll have to see how it sorts out as far as ice time goes, and maybe they do carry closer to a top 4, general ice time limit that we would look at. But I don't know. Is there much more there? I guess with Desharnais, he's 27 already. I kind of look at who he is, and, I'm sure he works extremely hard and he wants to improve in some of those areas, but I'm not sitting here going, Desharnais a top 4 guy or has top 4 potential. I just kind of think he is what he is, which is already a bonus because you never really expect him to come along.
Yeah, and I mean, he learned a lot last year, right? It's half a season in the NHL, and there was some foot speed issues. I liked hearing what he actually went, his regime over the summer to get better. But is he top 4? It's tough for me to say. I think it's a possibility. Maybe I'll say.
So you do think it might be there?
Well, it's just we haven't seen him in a full season, right? We saw him come in and stabilize. He was able to stabilize a penalty kill for a guy that hadn't played in the NHL, and that doesn't happen that often. So I think with more experience, and the one thing about Bill Ranford always told me this, that playing in the NHL for over a period of time, it actually helps you, because you start playing against the same guys over and over, and you start to, the amount of video and stuff, you start to learn tendencies, and you learn how to play certain players a certain way. But
does that go the other way too, though?
It can, but I think with Desharnais, there's a lot of things there. Do I think I would have to say I'm about 60% that there's a possibility of him playing in that top 4. Could he? Well, I think he could get to an Ekholm level.
Well, I don't think he could get to an Ekholm level, but I think with Ekholm there, he might be able to get by.
An Ekholm level now.
Okay.
So Ekholm 4 years ago, a little bit different.
Not happening. Yeah.
So, I think there might be a possibility there. I could be wrong, but Usually I'm not.
Let's go to the lounge singer on this one. Cass, what do you think?
Well, I was shaking my tambourine, but I was on mute, so you guys couldn't hear, which is probably a good thing. I don't think he's top 4. I don't think he's top 4. He's a bottom 6 guy that can fit in there nicely. That can kill penalties, but I think we saw, has his foot speed gotten better? Well, we have to see yet. With this summer training regime, did he improve? Probably a little bit, and I'm assuming we're going to see better things from him this year, particularly when the pace of play speeds up. But I just think there's a reason it took him so long to get to the NHL, and he's been a great surprise. He's not a top 4 defenseman, not a guy you want in your top 4. He helps your team. He makes your penalty kill way better, covers the ice well, but to me, he's not the guy that slides in there.
Well, no, good teams should have guys like him in the 5-6 spot. Right, like that's what good teams do. It's nice to not have to every single year go. They got to find a couple 5s and 6s. No, you don't. You've got a guy that you've stabilized as a number 6, as a 3 right D, and it's not going to cost you a ton, and he's going to be able to do the job for you and kill some penalties. Right? Like there's no downside to this, really.
Is he? What's a compare? I look over in Winnipeg and see that Logan Stanley, who's struggled lately. But is that kind of a comparable to Desharnais? Do you think, or because Logan
maybe like who you want to be? I think the size thing sort of makes you automatically kind of think of that, right? But I don't know. You just look at good hockey teams. They have solid third pairs, which for the longest time, especially through the decade of darkness, but even in the early Connor McDavid days, you were rolling in the Brad Hunts and these types of guys who really should have been in the American Hockey League. Like the Oilers don't have a defenseman now that's being thrust into a role that he shouldn't be able to handle, right? Like it might be a little much. Even if you were to play Cody Ceci with Ekholm, I think Cody Ceci would look a heck of a lot better than he did with Darnell Nurse. I mean, maybe that's where you go. Maybe it does end up, once Ekholm's able to get out there, maybe Ceci ends up with him. It's looking like Kulak and Ceci right now, but there's a few different things that you can do. Cass, if we were at this place that you're at right now, would we be ordering sandwiches for lunch or burgers, fries, soup? What would the plan be?
Definitely burgers and fries.
Okay.
That would be.
So you're at a straight up fast food joint right now, eh?
I was at a straight up coffee place and there were no chairs available. So I was like,
please,
nope, can't go here.
Please tell me you're at Pete's Drive-In right now doing this.
No, that would be amazing.
I thought so too. I thought he was.
Let's rip this Band-Aid off, man. That would be absolutely great. God, that would have been funny. I guess you can't really sit inside though at Pete's Drive-In. It's all it's all outside. Yeah, that's a bad reference by me. Yeah. I apologize for that. Bad reference by me. All right, let's take one quick break. We will come back to the second half of Two Guys and Goalie. We're going to continue with our top 50. You guys didn't hit on this, eh? I guess it would have been possible. Tommy didn't know the list.
Oh, no, we didn't.
Right, so we'll get to 20 through 11. We'll get to that. We'll take a look at some of these Canadian teams as well. Like, you know, Edmonton and Toronto are going to be great. How do those other 5 teams sort it out? We'll get to that as we continue here on Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by CoolBet.
The Lock Shop.
We've been doing this for a long time. We spend all this time salivating over the season. Sometimes, if you haven't learned your lesson, you go hard betting on week 1, and then we get ready to get into week 3 of the season going, what the hell were we talking about for a month leading into the season? Because everything we thought was the case was wrong. So I always tread a little lightly, and I mean, I try not to make these so definitive takes. Things can change very, very quickly, or maybe they have, and we just haven't seen it yet.
The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Wake up with the Nielson Show with Dustin Nielson and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey. Saturday mornings at 10. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
All right, welcome back to Two Guys and a Goalie. That's what's great about EdmontonSportsTalk.com. If you're listening live, you don't have to listen to 14 minutes of commercials, 18 minutes of commercials. 3.5 minutes. Gage went and took a piss. Cass played 2 quick songs at the lounge, and we are...
I got some good tips, too. Great tips.
You're just killing it on tips. I like it when you're thinking you go down there to meet with clients, but you actually just got this great midweek gig down in Calgary
At Pete's too.
Yeah, at Pete's too. Cass, did you play it? Like were you in band at all growing up? Like, if somebody said to you right now, Cass, pick an instrument and play it, what could you do?
Guitar or bass.
Oh, really? Oh, a cool bass. Dude, eh?
Yeah. I don't play that much anymore. I used to play guitar. I played bass in school band. Okay, that's what I did. But I've broken my fingers on my left hand too many times, so they don't bend properly to press down some of the strings. So it's not nearly as good as I used to be able to play, and I don't play enough anymore. But I still can play. There's enough there that I could go to Wonderwall or two.
I would love to see Cass
that'd be great.
Playing the bass from the crotch.
Next time you're in studio, Cass, bring the guitar. That would be great. I'm just not coordinated enough to do guitar or drums. I don't think. I think it would be cool to bang on the drums like in beat, but I just don't see how I could get both my feet, like my feet and my hands doing different things. Like it must take so much training.
One of my son's friends was the drummer at school, and he was so good.
Really?
And yeah, he could. Everything's going a different way, and to make it all sound good, I'd probably be a better goalie if I could have played. I should have tried to play the drums.
You would have been.
You probably would have been, buddy. Yeah. Let's get to one more quick text on this blue line thing, and then we'll kind of slide along here. Guys, I would think that the late game shutdown pair will end up being Ekholm/player to be named at 5 minutes left in game.
That's good.
When the game is on the line, let's just play this game for a second as I bring up our top 50. When the game is on the line, Ekholm and who are out there?
Cece or Kulak?
Yeah.
Cece or Kulak?
I would say Kulak, to tell you the truth.
Are you talking so you would play Ekholm and then like Kulak on the other side type of thing? Is that, man, that does not say much for Darnell Nurse. It should be, that answer should be Darnell Nurse at this stage of his career, really. I mean, it should be Ekholm and Nurse.
Well, you said shutdown, though.
Yeah, but still, I mean, but no, here's the thing with Darnell Nurse. He's getting paid. I know you don't want to bring up how much he's getting paid. Okay, I get that. But if you are going to be paid that much, or even if it was like $8.5 million, or you're the number one D-man on the team, or whatever, I mean, if we don't view him as a shutdown and we don't necessarily view him as an offensive juggernaut, then what are we viewing him as? You know, like that's the problem, I guess, in the conversation there. Like, you have to have enough faith in Darnell Nurse to have him on the ice in the final 2 minutes of a hockey game, or I don't even know what we're doing here with the blue line. Like,
I find that he does certain things in at times where he either he lays down or he goes to block a shot.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
He's got to eliminate that in between, like where he gets caught in between the play, and that's what frustrates me the most, is seeing those issues. And those Kulak and Ekholm, they tend to play a style where, yeah, there's opportunity, but they make the other teams have to do something special to beat them, right? And Darnell seems to at times sell the farm on a hope play, that hoping, laying down, they're going to hit me with this pass and I can get the puck out, instead of reading it, reacting, and trying to play defense in a manner that doesn't wind up you laying down on the ice. I hope that's out of his game.
Cass, what do you
It's
say?
not.
It's not. No.
I don't think you're getting that completely out of his game. Now, maybe a little bit. I hate some of the sliding. Just hate it, as we've talked about time and time again, and I talk about with Tommy all the time in the pre and post game show. It's like some of that sliding just gets to me. I mean, to me, if Darnell's playing the last couple minutes of the game, it all depends on how he's playing.
Like if he's having one of those good games, yeah, okay,
yeah. Because when he is engaged and when he is having one of those good games, then I'd absolutely be like, yeah, get him on there for sure. But there's just some of that inconsistency of decision making still at times that I get hesitant. But even then, I get I don't know. It all depends on how he's playing.
I believe I think he'll be out there in the last 2 minutes of a game this year, because we saw what happened when Ekholm did show up. There was a definite shift in the way Darnell played. He didn't have to beat the world every shift. Like there was a sigh of relief, and he just kind of settled into his normal game. So us saying that he's not going to be on the ice in the last 2 minutes is a little bit crazy, because I think just with the presence of their defenseman right now will allow Darnell to play a more structured game in the last 2 minutes.
This text to the inbox, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Do you guys not remember 2 and 25 from the first half of last year, pulling pucks back out of the net? 2 third pairing D with 1 power play time, brutal defensively. So that guy's not a fan of the possibility of those two guys sticking together this year. So we'll see how it sorts itself out. They're certainly trying to get to it. Kevin on the YouTube chat says, this has been an intense, informative preseason D-core discussion. And it really has. This has been a really good discussion about the D. Yada, yada, yada. You're up to date on the blue line. Matthias Ekholm is extremely steady. We'll see how that plays itself out. But let's continue with our top 50. And then if we have time, we'll dive into some of these Canadian teams a little bit. Even if we have a discussion and maybe like full-blown power rank them before the season begins. I'll just do a quick rip right through. This is our bottom 30 of the top 50, starting at 21. With Quinn Hughes. So Quinn Hughes, Rasmus Dahlin, Rupe Hintz, Sidney Crosby, Mitch Marner, Stamkos, Pedersen, Robertson, Mo Seider, Hellebuck, Yossi Stützle, Matty Benier, Sorokin, Aho, Hedman, Ovechkin, Panarin, Vasilevsky, Point, Suzuki, Barzal, Sergachev, Keller, Svechnikov, UC Saros, Petrangelo, Trouba, Nylander, and Brad Marchand. These are guys that you would want to build a team around if you were starting a franchise today. This brings us to number 20 on the list. Was just crowned a Stanley Cup champion. Jack Eichel sits number 20 on the list. What, Gage, is that right where he is on your list?
That's right where he is.
Wow.
I'm a genius.
You nailed it.
I nailed it. Yeah, no, he was great, man. Talk about a guy that redefined his game and showed what he's capable of. Simplified everything. Was a physical presence. Great on draws. Scored some timely goals. If I'm starting a franchise, especially in the U.S., he's up there. He probably would have went a lot higher if they didn't win the Stanley Cup, but just seeing what he was capable of doing with that team, he's one up on Connor so far.
Cass, you had him a little bit lower on the list, but when you look at him, when you look at this guy, considering the injuries he's been through, I don't know, this might just come across as a dick question, but do you think he's peaked almost? Like, is there another level still there for Jack Eichel, or is this kind of Jack Eichel's won his cup? He's going to be a really good player for a long time, but this is kind of peak Jack Eichel.
I think we're seeing peak Jack Eichel. And the injury, the reason I had him lower on my list isn't because of skill or ability, but because of that injury history where he has shown that he is not overly durable, but when he's playing his best hockey, he is a fantastic player. Can be dominant, can control a game, can take over a game, and is really, really, really good. So I would have some questions about long term, and even if we look at like the neck surgeries, like we don't know how this is going to affect him 3 or 4 years down the road. Now, right now, is he one of the top players in the league? For sure, absolutely. But there's that injury history to be concerned about. But peak Jack Eichel, are we seeing it? Probably. This is probably as good as he gets. Now, he might have a couple more years of it, but how long? I don't know from an injury standpoint. I mean, if he re-injures his neck again, that could be it, right? Like
It's tough. I mean, the way if he didn't have to deal with those injuries along the way, man. When you watch Jack Eichel controls the puck extremely well in the offensive zone. He's smooth as butter.
He's the Carlos Sainz of.
He's the Carlos.
He's the smooth operator
of the National.
Smoother than me slapping the base.
Yeah, oh wow, jeez, look at this. All right, number 19 on the list, and I'll be very interested to see where this kid eventually ends up. But we've got Owen Power at number 19 on our list. True. Big, non-Swedish Victor Hedman type. Buffalo has 2 legit number 1 defensemen. It's a great, great situation to be in. He ends up being a little bit higher than Rasmus Dahlin on our list. Only a couple spots higher, 4 spots higher. That's how good both of these guys are. Cass, you had Power. You had Power at 17. So take away here with Power and the potential that this guy has.
Well, a ton of potential. I mean, you see in year 1, I think you already see that he's going to be he's a top 2 defenseman, and there is tremendous upside offensively, and he can play defensively as well. I mean, he has all the tools that you want in a superstar defenseman, and that's where that Buffalo group to me is so scary. Is like you have 2 guys who can be on the ice, and Dahlin and him, and I think I had them a little bit closer in rank together. And Dahlin, I think, a little bit above Power just because he's more proven at this point, and we've seen him do it for a couple of years. But Power's a winner. He's won from a ability standpoint. The abilities are there. I love him as a defenseman already at this point. Has a shot, thinks offensively, good first pass, can skate, can be physical. I mean, he just has everything. I mean, you talk about Hedman, he is like a Hedman type player. He's if you're looking at what he has the potential to be, he has the potential to be that, I think. So this kid is great. Would absolutely be happy starting my team with him as a core part of my team.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the reasons that I saw on someone's talking about trading Rasmus Dahlin because they have Owen Power.
Which is just insane.
It's insane to say that he's so good that people, hey, we could get there's a pot. You'd never do that, I don't think, unless you have someone else. But
like, what else does Buffalo need?
Yeah,
you might as well keep both of these guys, right?
Like you can't script that any better to have 2 potential Norris candidates eventually. Like those 2, I mean, it probably would never happen. I don't think it's ever happened that 2 D-men from the same team have been nominated.
I mean, no, probably not nominated, but like Scott Niedermayer and Pronger on that team. Like
that's as close.
That's actually pretty close because like Niedermayer kind of be like Rasmus Dahlin, and then
yeah. So that's
ridiculous.
That's ridiculous that we're comparing those 2 with those 2 guys.
How does the rest of the National Hockey League and some other teams allow this to happen? Like that's nuts. But they're both absolutely phenomenal talents. So both those guys coming in on the list. Up next, I mean, a guy who's pretty much won everything. I guess the question would be, Gager, let's go with you on this one. Nikita Kucherov, how much left in the tank for the Cooch right now?
I think quite a bit, just the way he plays. He's mean. He's nasty. He's got a tendency to get injured before the trade deadline and works out that way. So. Just a fantastic player, complimentary player, with the resume of winning Stanley Cups. I'm surprised he's not a little. What did I have him at? I think I had him.
You had the Cooch at 29. It looks like.
So yeah,
I think he's the oldest. I'm just looking off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure he's the oldest player in our top 20. But it's not like he's old.
No, so, that's probably why I had him. Yeah, I had him at 29. Yeah. So I'm okay with him there.
Cash, you had him just slightly higher than where
he
ends up. But I mean, he's a freak. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. No, I mean you're insane offensive potential, and he has some gas left in the tank. So now, in my opinion, he's going to be one of the guys that's on. I mean, he's going to start dropping down the list probably every year as he gets older. Here, he's going to start decreasing on the list. But for now, there's still so much offensive potential. You can build a team around him offensively. And he will drive offense. He will drive your team. He's a proven winner. He knows how to get the job done. So yeah, he deserves to be on the list. Should be on the list, and we'll probably see him start to slide down in the future.
Yeah,
but for now,
probably.
he's in a healthy spot.
He beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in one game in the playoffs. He was the best player.
But he still has that ability to completely take
over a game
against NHL guys.
In the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah. That's a high level of skill.
We've got another Stanley Cup champion right above him. Kind of flies under the radar because there's two teammates of his higher on this list, but Mikko Rantanen comes in just above Kucherov. Rantanen he's the Draisaitl to McDavid's McKinnon. I mean, Rantanen kind of flies under the radar just because there's so many other guys in the spotlight there. But Gage, where do you come out on Mikko Rantanen being a top 20 player you want to build a team around?
I had him at 17. Kind of overshadowed with some of the other talent with the Avalanche. But yeah, comparables, you'd have to say Draisaitl. And what we've seen with Rantanen is he takes over that number, like your top dog on your team, due to injuries. He was by far and away carried the Avalanche while there was injuries to Makar, and McKinnon was out of the lineup. He's a beast. He's got a sledgehammer for a shot, always dangerous, scores from all over the ice. He can score from distance. He scores from the hard areas, and seems like you always look at when guys score, there's a certain look other teammates give me. He seems like a real leader and a good guy to have on your team.
6'4", 215, 26 years old, 55 goals and 105 points this year, Cass. Not bad.
Nope, not bad. I don't think he's as good as Draisaitl at driving the play on his own, but fully capable of it. Great player. I love his size. I mean, that's something you salivate over. Is if you're a GM, right? Is having a guy that is that big, that strong, with that good of a shot that can drive play and play down low. He's a heck of a player.
All right, up next, our third defenseman on this list. There's only two defensemen higher than this guy. Dallas Stars Miro Heiskanen, who I still think could end up a little bit higher on this list. I think Heiskanen has a ton. Well, let's just say if Heiskanen played in Edmonton or Toronto or Montreal or something, nothing against Dallas. Dallas is a great hockey market, but I feel like he's still a little bit of a hidden gem, Gager.
Yeah, and I completely apologize to him because I don't think he even made my list. But, maybe it was because the one game against the Oilers last year, he just gave up like 3 pizzas right up the middle. Maybe that skewed my voting. But, yeah, there you have a guy that basically can take over the game with his skating, the way he moves the puck. He's almost, I would say he's one of the closest defensemen to Erik Karlsson when you watch them play, right? The way he can
just with his movement and stuff.
His movement and how he does everything. So yeah, unbelievable player. Completely screwed up that pick. He should be higher on my list.
Cass, I think you had him at about 14, and I've got him in that same range.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that when I look and I'm like, okay, teams in the West that have the chance to beat Edmonton, he's one of the guys that could be a McDavid killer in the playoffs. And I know he had the one game, Gage, where he struggled,
which is really tough to do. I mean, that's really tough to do, but he could possibly have that, right?
He could possibly have that, and he's going to be. I mean, you want to talk about Norris candidates? He's a guy that's going to be there at some point. Wouldn't be surprised if he wins it.
Number 15 on the list. People have probably been wondering, where does this kid end up? We have Connor Bedard at number 15 on our list right now. If you were starting a franchise today, the list of guys ahead of him are all sensational, phenomenal hockey players. Cass, where do you come out on Bedard settling in here at 15?
I had him down from this. Down as in like higher numbers. Wouldn't take him so early because you just don't know yet.
Gager had him super high. I had him around here. Gage, you had him top 5.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're viewing him to be a franchise guy. Like, he's that guy.
Well, I look at this. We had Murray on talking about season tickets of the Blackhawks, and they sold out once they drafted him. Right?
That doesn't happen every year with the first overall pick.
No,
Yeah.
then we've seen what he did. We saw that reverse saucer pass that he gave Taylor Hall in training camp, and Taylor didn't score. But no, I think there's this guy's. I'm always hesitant when guys come into the league like this, but I do think that he's going to have I see a 30-30 type season for him, and definitely someone that just the way he talks and how he handles himself so far. This is a guy he should be way up higher.
Cass, does this come back to last year's you talking about how he's already so physically developed that it allowed him to dominate the Western League and not going to have that same advantage in the NHL?
Yep. Yeah, I think so. To me, it does. And you just want to see that. You want to see what he has the ability to do against grown men. And it is not saying that he's not going to be a great player, not saying that he couldn't be on my list at this point. Even next year, he could be here, he could be higher. But we don't know. We don't know yet. We don't know what we're getting.
Let's tie this into CoolBet just quickly. Just throw these numbers at you. These are the numbers that they have for Connor Bedard as a rookie this year. His goal total is set at 31.5, and his point total is set at 72.5. Cass, 72.5 points, 31.5 goals. Do you like the over or the under on that one?
I would take the under on goals.
The over on
probably
points?
pretty close on points.
Yeah.
I don't. The points is probably pretty close. I take the under on goals for me. But I don't bet.
Don't worry. I do enough for the both of us.
I know you do. You do. You make it up. You make up for it.
I would have to go under on the points, over on the goals.
Over on the goals,
Yeah.
under on the points. I think I would end up being slightly over. I'll say it. I'll slightly over on both.
Yeah?
33-75.
Taylor Hall can't finish. You saw that.
That's there's got to be another hockey player somewhere in Chicago that can play with this guy. So Connor Bedard comes in at 15. Tage Thompson at 14. We talk about all the great pieces that the Buffalo Sabres have. This guy, Gage, I don't think there's not many players in the league you describe as a unicorn. Tage Thompson is a unicorn.
He is. I had him way down on the list, but probably because
you're just like this instant regret.
Yeah. No, I don't know. That's to start a franchise around.
Just because he's like that big guy that doesn't generally look like a guy you'd start a franchise around?
Yeah, and now he's probably going to go score 55 or something. Because he's had 41 last year, I think. And
47.
47, yeah. So the possibilities of him scoring 50 are really good. Yeah, no, I get it. But I think it's a little bit too high for him. Tell you the truth, I don't think I start my franchise.
He's such a phenomenal story because nothing for about 4 years in Buffalo, or St. Louis, and then into Buffalo, and up and down and up and down, and then 8 goals in 38 games, and then the next year 38 goals in 78 games, and then 47 goals. 47. It's like it just clicked. It's like he went to somebody and they waved him with a magic wand and was like, "You're going to be a star now in the league." And Cass, it's tough to deny what he's done.
You can't.
6'6". He looks even bigger. I mean, yeah.
He's a machine. He's a machine. I think I had him 8 or 9 on my list. Like, the guy scores goals. Just scores goals, and he does it in freakish ways.
He does it
that are awesome.
He does it looking awkward. Like when that rush he had last year, where he walked through the team and then they cut around. You're like, dude, you're 6'7" on skates. How are you doing this?
You'd have to say the goals. Some of the goals that he scores during the regular season, no one else in the league can score a goal like that except for him. And you have to say he has tendencies to look like the old number 66, the way he can go around a guy and still be behind him in some ways.
It's just insane. Let's rattle through these next 3 here, and then we'll wrap this episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. Brady Tkachuk comes in at number 13 on the list. His brother a few spots higher. He'll be in the top 10 that we'll get to next week. Brady Tkachuk comes in at, what did I say, 12? No, 13. Barkov at 12. And Shesterkin, the highest goalie on the list, at 11. Cass, who do you want to single out there? Shesterkin, Barkov, or Tkachuk in this range?
I'll take Tkachuk. I think just a solid guy They can play both ends, plays a great game of hockey, plays two ways, plays hard, plays in front of the net. Everything you want in a guy that is a cornerstone of your organization, I think he brings. And I think we haven't seen the best from him yet as they build up that organization and put more pieces in around him. I think he's just going to keep getting better. So he's a great player. Going to hopefully bring that team to the cusp or in the playoffs this year, and hopefully bring them a lot of success in the next couple of years. So a lot of fun. He's a great player to watch, and again, I'd be happy with him as a cornerstone in my organization any day.
Gager, you take Shesterkin. He's at 11, highest goalie on the list by quite some margin.
Yeah, he's very rarely do you see a goalie that makes a good team a great team, and I think he's quietly done that with the Rangers so far. He's covered up so many mistakes that the Rangers make. I think he's almost relied upon too much at this point. It would be nice to see him get a little bit more help to see what he can do. But yeah, he's a guy that I really think can win a playoff series. That doesn't really happen too much by a goalie anymore, but he has that ability to do something.
I'll take Barkov. He sits at number 12 on this list. I'd just like to see, the only thing that would I'd hesitate is just a matter of getting to play 82 games. You know, as a guy that you want to build a franchise around, if he gives you 82 games, he's going to give you 85 to 90 points and be the best defensive player on the ice pretty much any time he's on the ice. He's an absolute beast. It's just a matter of, he played 68 games this year, 67 the year before, shortened season before, but played 50. And then before that, it was 66. So he's only played over 80 games one time in his career. But when he is out there, he is absolutely phenomenal. And he ends up, I was the highest on him. I had him just at the lower end of the top 10, but you know what? This is why I got to see the best on best, because I want to see a team try to handle the line with Barkov and Rantanen from like a physical perspective. That would be an absolute nightmare. So that brings us to the top 10. We will get to the top 10. If you've been listening and paying attention to the list, you probably know the top 10 who are on the list, probably just don't know what order they are yet. So we will dive into that next week here on Two Guys and a Goalie. Cass, you have an evening show as well, or how's that working today?
I have two shows. The one right now that I'm playing while we're sitting here, and then another one later in the evening. And then I might go busk downtown a little bit too.
That's good. Gager, what do you got going on this weekend, buddy?
Oh, just work, man. I got to
fix grinding with the advice, the financial stuff.
Yeah, it's a bear. Kent's got me locked in a room and doing stuff. So.
All right, we'll be back with another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie coming your way on Tuesdays. We will dive into kind of power rank the Canadian clubs heading into the season and give you our top 10, more preseason talk on the Oilers as well. That's going to do it for another full day here from 6 until 1 at edmontonsportstalk.com. Thank you very much for joining us. And Tommy and Eric and Maddie will be back 6 o'clock tomorrow morning on the Nielson Show. See you later, Cass.
The EST Hangout.
Matawanek, Tom Gazzolo. Yeah. As well as we got Mindarwal from CDC and Doug McLean, Golden Bears Pandas analyst, along with the Stingers.
I think the older this kid gets,
Connor?
you're starting to see